Hey YouTube, Sifnix here, and today I'm going to be doing the updated settings and peripherals video. It's been requested by a few people, so I thought I'll just do an up-to-date one because my peripherals change a lot, my settings change a lot, and people have been asking for it. So first of all, I'll just run through the in-game settings. So for general, not changed a lot here really, just got the basic things that most people use. So change my stun effects to dark, which default is white, and dark just makes it so when you get flash banged it's black screen instead of a white screen. And again, I haven't really changed much in here, but cycling side camera groups on and all these settings here. So for the heads up display, I have changed quite a bit in here. I'll just run through them all real quick. You can see here most of these are just default here. I have loadout inputs off, which basically is just the buttons next to the loadout, tells you like what keybinds you have for the loadout. Doesn't really, I like to have it off, it just looks better basically. Health, no, I turn health off for one of the main reasons being it looks cleaner in my opinion, and it also helps mentally, because if you can see that you're on pretty low health constantly in the bottom left corner, it might put you in like a spot where you don't want to peek an angle that you should be peeking. Makes you play a bit more passive than you should be in some scenarios, but also just kind of clears up the HUD a little bit, makes it look a lot nicer. You can still see your health at the top of the screen where all the operators are. You can still see your health there if you really do need to check on that. So it's not like you can't see your health at all, but it just helps keep it, again, the HUD cleaner. Looks a bit nicer. Again, most of these are just default. General reminders turned off, don't really need them. Now Corsair I have off as well. Now this is the, not the center dot, this is the 4 little lines that go around the center dot. I turn this off again to make it look cleaner, just have the little dot on the middle of the screen, which again is just how I like to do it. Teammate outlines, now this one's pretty important for me. Having this off allows you to basically not see the outlines on your teammates. Which helps for when there's a situation where your teammate is in front of a wall and there's an enemy, or sorry, your teammate's behind a wall and your enemy is like right in front of that wall. It's happened a few times to me, and I've seen it happen to a few other people, where you don't notice that that's the enemy because the outline basically lines up with them, so you think it's your teammate. Obviously having that off will stop that situation from happening, and basically ever since I turned it off I've never had that situation again. Definitely worth turning off. And again, most of this is just default, but obviously I turn bands off because I don't want to see the bands spamming in the top right. Versus update, I also turn this off. This just basically pops up on the screen saying like how many people are alive and stuff like that. And operator guides are turned off as well. Now audio. I will run over my peripherals for my audio setup as well. So these settings are what work for me for my audio setup. So night mode, pretty standard, a lot of people use this. People switch between night mode or hi-fi. TV's never used from what I've seen. So yeah, it's mostly just hi-fi and night mode. I prefer night mode. I'll give you a little bit of an idea on what night mode does. It basically kind of makes it kind of compresses all the sounds, so your higher pitch sounds or your louder sounds like gunshots, explosives are quieter, and then in return it kind of makes footsteps louder because they're easier to hear. I've had people say they hate night mode, people say they love night mode. For me it works really well. I can pinpoint enemies vertically, horizontally, like everywhere basically with my audio setup at least. Run the volumes 100. I turn the game volume down, the in-game music volume. Sound effects I have up as well. Menu music I have that off, and voiceover volume I have that up. Voiceover presets, I haven't really messed around with this. You can mess around with it. Basically what it is, it's the voices of the characters in game. They'll say certain things. It kind of gives you more lore into the game and stuff. It tells you on the right side here you can choose between them. I just keep it on maximum. I don't really mind having it on maximum. Yeah, so again, I don't think I've touched many of these settings here. Again, these were added pretty recently as well. I haven't messed around with them because my audio's been great from what I'm using. Voice chat 73, and then these are my input and outputs. Voice chat 100, I just mess around with this depending on how loud people are in games, because sometimes you get in games with people whose mics are just the quietest thing on earth, and then some people have the loudest fucking mic in the world, so I just change between that. Now, display settings. Again, I change this a lot. I change aspect. I usually stick between 4:3, 5:4. I don't really mess around with that too much, but I do change field of view a lot. So this is my main monitor. I'll get into that later. 1440p, 360 Hz, 4:3. Obviously VSync off, FPS limit off, widescreen letterbox off, defaults really. You want to turn all these off. Field of view 85 at the minute. I switch anywhere from 80 to 90, so this range is what I stick with. I never go below 80, and obviously I can't go above 90, so this is my range, 80 to 90. Sometimes I'll play 80, sometimes play 83, 85, like 90, it doesn't really matter. Just personal preference and what I like to stick with at the time. Display area. Now this is basically, as you can see there, it's the actual display in game. FPS counter, your gun and stuff like that, your little icons. You can change it to be, it's default to 100, so it'll be right in the corner of your screen. I like to have it on 90 so I can see it a little bit better, but it doesn't get in the way, it just looks nicer. And same thing with this menu display, I just keep that on 100. Brightness, I am rocking 60. Obviously I've got other monitor settings set up as well, which I'll probably go over in this video. But yeah, I'm running 60 on the brightness right now. Graphics, now this one is sort of personal preference, but again, there's also good recommendations in here as well. Textures, you can run low if you want. I run medium. I just like having that little bit extra detail on the weapon skins. It just looks a little bit nicer to me. Texture filtering. This is basically, I'm pretty sure this is some, I don't even know what this is, to be honest. But I've always kept it on linear. That's the default that people run for like competitive settings. LOD, now this one is basically the level of detail from a distance. So if you have it on low, the level of detail of like meshes and like textures in game will go lower quality from a lower distance basically. So the higher you have this, the textures and meshes stay a higher quality at a further distance. Really depends on your PC, but I don't think this one actually tanks your performance too much. I just run it on ultra because I've got a pretty beast setup, so it doesn't really matter to me. But again, you can play around with this, doesn't really matter. The shading quality, again, just keep that on low. Competitive settings. Shadow, no shadow, medium. You have to run medium minimum. The reason for that is if you play low, you will not see people's shadows of enemies when they peek you and stuff like that. Having it on medium, you can see the enemy's shadows, which the amount of times I've gone into a gunfight where I've been able to pre-fire or win a gunfight and have knowledge on someone's position just because the shadow, and vice versa, really helpful. Reflections low, VFX low, ambient occlusion low, lens effect low, or off, sorry. You want to have all these low and off because basically, like all of these, you want to run low and off. Basically to make the game look better. But they give you like less of a competitive advantage really, because again they'll tank your FPS for one, and number two, there's just like settings that you don't want to have on. If you want the game to look amazing, go for it, but if you want to play more competitively and actually grind out ranked and play like really competitive, then off is usually the best option. Anti-Aliasing, a little bit more personal preference, but again, off usually tends to be the best option. What anti-aliasing does is it makes the corners of like pixels rounded a bit more, but in return you kind of get like a blurry effect. So for me, I've always run it off. Off looks better to me. Like I run anti-aliasing off in most games, even games I'm trying to make look good. For me, it's just how I like the game to look. And in competitive games, anti-aliasing off tends to be the better option. If you do have a worse PC, you can set it to TAA and change the render scaling, which is basically the resolution. So when I had my really bad PC, my first ever PC was horrible. Literally ran Siege at like 70 FPS with the render scaling all the way down. It was terrible, and the game just looks terrible with this. So If you're struggling for frames, play around with it, maybe change your render scaling down a little bit. The game will look worse, but you'll get more FPS. Obviously for me, default off, I keep it off. Controls, again, this changes a lot. At the minute, I'm actually running 55 on my Smurf, so I'm going to change that back. I'll get into this in a second. Drone speed, hold. Basically, your drone speed boost, you can hold or press. Hold, just prefer it. RAM input, doesn't really matter on and off as long as you've got mouse acceleration turned off in Windows. You know, there's people who say keep it on, people who say keep it off, people say you need it on if you're running 2K or above, blah, blah, blah. I just keep it on. It doesn't really matter. Sometimes I turn it off, sometimes I turn it off. I really don't notice a difference, to be honest, but at the minute I'm just running it on. Now sensitivity, let's get into this one. This one is a little confusing to some people who don't know about sensitivity scales and stuff like that. Basically, I am running 1600 DPI, and now you would think that that is an insanely high sense, 1600 DPI with 55, but I'm running 0.001 multiplier. So I'm going to get a little bit complicated here. Basically, if you run, the default multiplier is 0.02. And then if you run 0.002, that changes the sensitivity scale from 1 to 100 down to 1 to 10. So technically, if you were running 5 or 55, sorry, that would be 5.5, if that makes sense. That's on 400 DPI, of course. DPI obviously doubles, so as you double DPI, your sensitivity technically doubles as well. So if you're running 5 in game with 400 DPI, for example, and then you want to run, and then you change your DPI to 800, that would then become 10, if that makes sense. So even though it says 5 in game, it will become 10, and then again, if you double it again, it'll become 20 for 1600 DPI. Now I run 0.001 with 1600 DPI because basically what that does is it changes the in-game value to match 800 DPI. So if I run 55, which I'm running right now, what that basically does is it acts as if my mouse is on 800 DPI and then makes 5.5. So 5.5 doubled is 11, obviously. So technically this sense that you're looking at right now, even though I'm on 1600 DPI, is 11 in game. I know that's a bit confusing. If you guys need any help with that, just comment below. I can talk to you a bit better on that. But this is basically 1111. Just to simplify it, it's 1111 exactly. And then these values here, obviously that's just personal preference. Like I usually run, sometimes I run it lower, sometimes I run it higher. It doesn't really matter. Mouse scroll, I have that disabled. I've tried to use it before, and for some reason I always just knock it and end up switching guns mid-gunfight. It pisses me off. I don't run it anymore. Gadget deployment, drone deployment, advanced. Run it on advanced. Not just, do not have it on standard. Advanced is better. If you don't know what it does, you can read it on the side here, but it basically, for example, for the drone one, you throw a drone, you have to press the button to go on the drone. If you have it on standard, you throw the drone, you go straight on the drone. It's not good. Aim, hold, lean, hold. Now this is a big one. I am a hold lean player, as you probably know from my other videos. So is Spoit, and there's a few other people I'm not too sure on, but there are a handful of people who do play hold lean. It is a lot harder to learn, but it also makes quick peeking a lot faster and better in my opinion. I was a toggle player for as long as I played the game and recently switched to hold lean a few months ago, and took me a little bit of getting used to, but I prefer it now. I really love hold lean, and once you get the hang of it, it's better in my opinion. That's personal preference again, but in my opinion, I like playing hold lean, and I'm probably going to stick with it for the rest of my time on this game. Sprint, hold, crouch, toggle. Some people play hold, crouch. I don't really like doing that. I'm too many fingers pressing things at once at the minute. I have played hold in the past. I can do it, but again, I'm just preferring toggle at the minute. Maybe I'll switch to hold. It really doesn't matter though. Prone, toggle, walk, hold. I've changed quite a lot in here. I'll just give it a quick scroll through and you guys can just have a look. Again, this is all personal preference and none of this really matters. I do have my lean on Q&A. A lot of people ask me, do I change my keybinds to hold when I use hold lean or toggle lean? No, I keep on Q&A. A little thing about this, don't use the mouse buttons. A lot of people go to use the mouse buttons for leaning. It messes with your aim because you're constantly pressing the buttons while mid-gunfight, especially on hold lean. Not a good option. Just get used to Q and E. I know some people use C and V or other buttons that they can hit with the thumb, which, again, that's alright, I guess, as long as it's not affecting your aim, which mouse buttons will. Again, a lot of this I've just customized to what I like. I mess around with it a lot. When it comes to finding your controls, it's basically just trial and error, personal preference, and figuring out what works for you and what you like. Obviously, controller options, we ain't no roller down here, so that doesn't matter. Privacy, I don't mess with this unless I want to change my name in game, which I do on my Smurf account sometimes, but not this one. And the last bit that's important, I guess, is optic color. I usually run white, purple, dark blue, blue. I basically run every color. Like whenever I just get bored of a color, I'll just change it up. I always usually run the opacity at 100. I have played with lower opacities before, but 100 just, I don't mind 100. It looks nice, works well for me. Screen shake intensity off, turn that off, and motion blur. This is personal preference, but basically, if you have it off, you get this blood red effect on your screen, but your screen doesn't shake. If you have it on, you don't get that blood effect, but then your screen shakes a lot, and I kind of just prefer having the blood, to be honest. Again, stun effects, dark glare, team color, I just keep default blue and reds. Chat scale 100, and yeah, this is all the Siege settings. So I'll show you guys how I change my multiplier now, and then I'll run through my PC peripherals and basically everything like that. Okay, so for changing the multiplier now, I'll show you guys how to do that. You want to go into the settings here, and then you want to go into, oh sorry, not the settings, the files, go to Documents, My Games, Rainbow Six Siege, and depending on how many accounts you have, you'll have a bunch of different ones of these. For me, my main account is the top one. You just got to remember which one's which. Click that, Game Settings, and then you want to scroll down and look for the Mouse Sensitivity Multiplier. Here you go, and there you go. Default, it'll be 0.02, and then obviously for my sensitivity, I use 0.001. Yeah, that's basically how you change that. You just literally change the value here, save, exit, done. Relaunch the game as well, obviously, if you've got the game open. I will put some pictures up of my peripherals in a minute, but basically I'm going to show you guys, this is my PC part picker link. This is everything that I have on my setup at the minute. So this is my personal PC. Obviously you've got the specs here, 7800X3D. You've got everything in here, 4070 Super. These are all the monitors. So the monitor I'm using at the minute is the G6 I haven't purchased this monitor yet. That's why it says it isn't purchased here. This is going to be my next pickup when I do decide to pick up a new monitor. But this is my main monitor at the minute, 360Hz OLED 1440p. Absolutely amazing monitor. Did used to have the XL2566K, but OLED is just 10 times better than TN panels. If you guys want me to let you know why that is, I can give you a bunch of techie reasons why, but OLED is just better than TN panels. And yeah, this is my whole PC part picker link with all the things I'm using or have used and things I've purchased. And this is for my main PC, my second PC here, which is the PC I built for my girlfriend and my girlfriend uses. I have all the parts in there too. If you guys are interested in that, I'll leave both links down in the description if you guys just want to look through that for the fun of it. So I'm just going to run over my Wooting settings as well. Again, a lot of this personal preference, you just basically run what you want, but these are my personal settings. So I have my default actuation on 1mm, and then I've customized a few other things. So the Windows key, you can see there's 4mm, my shift is 1.5, escape is 4mm. Basically the keys I don't want to hit by accident, I put to 4mm. Things that I just want to hit normally and don't use a lot, I put to 1mm. And then the other things that I do press a lot, so for example my WASD I have that set to 0.8, and my Lian keys I have on 0.1. Just helps with quick peeking. Having a lower actuation helps with the quick peeking, makes it faster. Rapid trigger, I only have that on WASD and my Lian keys, and it's set to 0.15. I like to increase the sensitivity or lower the sensitivity a little bit. I find that when I have it on too high of a sensitivity, I can accidentally hit things, but if I change it a little bit, it seems to help. I run tachyon mode, which basically just gives you 1 millisecond response time, just faster input basically. And then you can see here, these are all the different actuation points and RGB settings. Obviously, I just have it running on blue. My function layer is this. I have a few custom keys set up too, which is SLCD, if you guys know what that is. You can read it here. A bit complicated to explain, but basically just prioritizes the last input. So for A and D, it's really good, and for the Lian keys, it can be pretty good too. And then this is basically, so instead of having to hold the function key, I can just tap it and it'll go into my function layer, so I can do the things that I need to with the function layer, which is this. This makes it a lot easier. And basically that's just the Wooting settings, my profiles here. I will put a link to my profile as well in the description. If you guys want to copy that, you can do. Okay, so for monitor settings, I'm going to show them on the screen now. As you can see here. For headset, I'm running a PC38X by Epos/Sennheiser. I'm using a Fusi Audio K5 Pro DAC amp. There you can see my monitor again, the G60SD, 360Hz OLED. Currently, I'm running the Freefall SV Base Control Plus, switched off the Artisan Key 83 to use it. Great mousepad. I can do a review on that if you guys want, but it's absolutely amazing mousepad. Obviously, I'm using my wireless CA13C. With Viper V2 internals and Obsidian skates on the bottom, and obviously the Wooting 60HE as well. So they're my peripherals that I'm running at the moment. So yeah guys, that's my full settings and peripherals updated video. Obviously I change settings and peripherals a lot, it's just how I like to do things. If you guys want to give me more videos and recommendations on things that I should be uploading, I'm happy to do more than just like gaming content, like just obviously pure siege clips. That's my main game. Obviously I do still like to do that, but I would love to also do peripheral videos and talk more in depth about settings, aim training, peripherals, and just give you guys knowledge and information and talk about things. If you guys do want to see that, just let me know. If you guys just want to see raw siege clips, I can do that too. It's whatever you guys want to see. I'm trying to grow my channel, so obviously my audience is the most important part about that and what you guys want to see. So just let me know. It's been Sifnix, guys. Please leave a like, comment, sub, and thank you for watching.